like I said, because there's no new movies coming out, we can't go to the theater and shit. We're gonna review something old, something we've seen before. Um, this, of course, is one of my favorite movies. The more I watch it, the more I love it. I loved it when it first came out. I saw it a few times in the theater. Um, and this is Starship Troopers, 1997.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
at the time, a lot of people did not like it at the time. It got shitty reviews, and I don't think people understood it, that it was basically a satire. Uh,
No, they don't get sarcasm.
yeah, that
That shit was so fucking dope when that shit first
yeah.
came out, man. We saw it in the theaters. It was the best fucking movie ever,
Yeah, I
man.
saw it. I think I saw it, and then I saw it with somebody. I was like, "You got to see this movie," and I saw it with them, and you got to see this movie, and I saw it with somebody else, and so I did see it like at least 3 times in the theater. I mean, I loved it at the time. I thought it was great.
It
I
was
did I
fucking
did get the
dope.
sarcasm. I did get it. I did get that it was supposed to be a parody, that it was poking fun at war movies, at teen soap operas and shit. And that just
Colonization.
yeah, that just made me love it even more. But it came on cable the other night, and I just started watching it, and stop like it started making references, to shit that's going on right now. You know, like Neil Patrick Harris, he's a straight up Nazi in this movie, and he was saying shit that reminded me of some shit that Trump said. And that's when I really started paying attention again, and all that satire and those references to fascism really started sinking in. And I was like, wow, this movie goes way more deep than people give it credit for. So that's when I said, hey, y'all, let's talk about Starship Troopers on the next pod. Let's rewatch Starship Troopers and talk about it. I took notes. I got mad notes because I thought it was pretty deep. So Starship Troopers, 1997. It's based on what's his name? The guy who wrote Invasion of the Body
RoboCop.
Snatchers, the Puppet Masters. No, the guy who wrote the book. It's loosely based on that. Robert Heinlein. He wrote the Puppet Masters, which is what Invasion of the Body Snatchers was based on. It was directed by Paul Verhoeven, who, yes, directed RoboCop, Total Recall, Showgirls.
Some more classics.
And it's basically a big dumb sci-fi action movie about humans going into space and fighting big giant alien bugs. That's all it's about. But on the surface, that's all it is. It's just this big dumb action movie. But you watch closer, it's a satire about war movies. It's a satire about teen soap opera flicks, like TV shows. It pokes fun at those tropes in action movies. It's doing a lot more than we give it credit for. So yeah, I don't want to start out because I won't stop. So what do you guys think, Anthony? What'd you think? After rewatching this, what'd you think?
Well, I've I've always loved this movie, but the one thing that I really like about it that I think that people don't catch, it still feels like a 1950s like serial, like like Flash Gordon
Mm-hmm.
at times too. It's not just a bug movie. It's a bug movie with full on thought and full out. You know, it was done perfectly as a B film. Like
Yeah.
this has got everything that's in a B film that's super campy, like all the monsters, all the bugs, all that stuff. The one-liners all over it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's picking what we think as society about what we think about war. You know, being a citizen, the idea of freedom, all those things. Like one of my favorite parts is when he's going to, sign and recruit, and the guy's missing the legs, and he's like, "It made me the man that I am today." And he shakes his hand with the robot.
That's the thing is like it's a total like comment on fascism. This is a fascist society. This is like it starts out with the newsreels. These newsreels of just join up fight.
Propaganda.
It's all propaganda. We're introduced. The first scene is just this classroom where these kids are being taught fascism. They're referring to how the failure of democracy and how the war veterans took over, and what do you say? They took control, and this military state has prospered and brought stability for generations and all that shit. So they're basically telling them that violence is the answer to everything. Like, this violent society has this supreme authority, and that when she goes, "What about violence doesn't solve anything?" is, "Oh, that's just wishful thinking." So this movie right away is just telling you that this is this fascist military state where they rely on war to solve all their problems. And like every shred of humanity keeps getting stripped away. You have his parents who are like, "Oh, I don't want you to. I don't want you to go to war, or I don't want you to join the military, because there's the civilians and the citizens. There's these two classes. If you're a civilian, you have more rights than a citizen. But to become a citizen, you have to join the military. So to become somebody of stature, you have to be a violent person." Because even the teacher says, brute force has solved more conflicts than anything in history. So it's basically, they're essentially teaching these kids that killing is the answer to everything. And it's kind of like Full Metal Jacket. Like when he actually asks Johnny Rico, the main character, he's like, "What do you think, Rico? Do you believe it? Do you believe that war is the answer to everything?" And he's like, I don't know. So that's like him, the innocence. And then the rest of the movie, we see him being brainwashed and transformed into this fascist killer, And that's basically like where I saw parallels to Full Metal Jacket, because that's what Full Metal Jacket is. The first half of Full Metal Jacket is just propaganda. We're going to turn these guys into killers. They even use serial killers and mass murderers as examples of way to be. Like in the scene in Full Metal Jacket, it's like, "Anybody know who Charles Whitman was? Anybody remember Lee Harvey Oswald? Oh, well, after you get out of this place, you'll be able to do the same thing." You can be a mass murderer just like those assholes. So it's all about brainwashing and turning these people into killers. And that's what we see. In the classroom, they use Hiroshima. The bombing of Hiroshima, as an example of how great war is. Like, just ask what happened to Hiroshima. Yes, brute force solved that conflict. War is the answer to everything. So that's like this fascist society, this military state that rules this society. And it's all, it's just breeding war. These kids they go off to war. They replace all the adults. Most of the adults we see in the movie are all fucked up. They got missing arms and legs. You got the woman from Golden Girls. She's got fucked. Her eyes are all fucked up and shit. So all the adults have been through the military, and they're all maimed and wounded now. And these kids are going to replace them. So they're just cogs in this military machine. So some of them either are going to die, or they're going to come back maimed. But they're just replacements for this totalitarian war machine.
But that's that nice part, even at the end. Remember when Rico all of a sudden he becomes the man? He's the man now because he's one of the oldest, and then he's got all those recruits, and they're all little kids.
Yeah.
He's looking at him. He goes, "Who are these little kids?" And it even become younger. The kids had become younger because they had lost so many. They had lost so many soldiers during this bug war of theirs.
Yeah.
So
they're just and then like I said, they just breed more killers. It's just all feeding this totalitarian state. Like they have all this great technology, these big spaceships, and they can go to warp speed, but it's all about they only live to destroy and conquer. That's all this society is for. That's all they exist for. And the people who join the military, they have more rights. Yeah, they have more rights than the civilians who don't. And like I said, their parents who's, Rico's parents is like, yeah, I don't want you to join the military. They get killed. It's like, oh, see, so that shred, all that humanity and moral consciousness gets wiped out. So okay, they're dead. Let's go to war now. Let's go kill them all. That's what this movie keeps, showing, the satirical version of a fascist state, where everybody's, but this is what, like, when I was watching it this time, and Doogie Howser, Neil Patrick Harris, he comes out in a straight up Nazi uniform. And I noticed it back then. I laughed back in the 90s when I first saw it. Holy shit. They're really pushing this parody onto us. He's in a straight up SS outfit. And he even says, he has to make decisions that send all these hundreds of soldiers to their death. That mission had a low probability survival rate. So he has life is just a number to him. Like, it has no value. He's just a military commander sending people off to die. Life has no value. And even in that scene, Rico's like, well, that's what the mobile infantry is for. And, it's supposed to be like a badass. Oh, I'm a badass. Like, no, he doesn't give a shit about your life or any of your soldiers' lives. You're just there for him. You're just disposable heroes. And that scene reminded me of the shit that Trump said a couple weeks ago when he said something about, oh, if the coronavirus only kills 100,000 people, that's pretty good. Like, that's acceptable. And I'm like, really? 100,000 people is good? That's a good acceptable probability of survival? Like, what the fuck? That's more people 100,000 is more people that died in the Hiroshima bombing. You know what I mean? But, like,
that's more people than Vietnam.
Yeah. Like, that's, yeah.
58,000 soldiers died in a 4-year period. So and we're talking a 4-month period. We're talking about 100,000 people dying. Yeah, that's a fucking issue.
Yeah. And how he had that we did a pretty good job. If only 100,000, like, what the fuck, man? You don't give a fuck, do you? And that's what Doogie Howser. He's just this military commander that just, life is just a sum equation. He does not give a shit,
Those are the lives that are the heroic ones that they're dying for the fatherland.
Yeah.
Basically. So.
Yeah, because they've been brainwashed to believe so.
It's the noble death.
Yeah.
But it's not even that. It's, for me, it's not even that. It's a numbers thing. It's like Doogie Howser's put in a position to all of a sudden have to deal with numbers. He no longer, he's the kid who's mind
trying reading to be with ferrets.
Yes. Yeah, telepathic.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they put him in that position. All of a sudden, he has to become a numbers guy. And it no longer deals with humanity. And you can't deal with humanity when you're dealing with war and you're dealing with killing.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of it.
Yeah, and that's what the society is built upon. Like, they're just a military state. So, yeah, not to get too political, but even though that this movie is making totally relevant allegories to what is happening right now. But
the only good bug is a dead
yes,
bug.
Yes, there's that scene where the Mormons, they're Mormon colonists that went out and encroached on the bug territory, So you have that sort of reference to Native American colonization and Manifest Destiny, how these settlers went out into their land and disrupted their land, and they resisted, and that's how the war got started. And now it's time, we got to kill them all, wipe them out, genocide, only good bug is a dead bug, more propaganda, and it was all newsreels and shit. And how they look at these bugs, even though they had a brain bug. Doogie Howser even said there must be some thinking bug. There's a brain bug that is actually strategizing these military engagements. And the guy's like, I find the thought of a bug that can think offensive. They totally don't want to think of their enemy as sentient beings, that they have emotions, or fear. Even though they do, this brain bug at the end, it fears us. Like, these are sentient beings, and they want to think of them less than because That's what they do in this society. They're citizens and civilians. If you are a citizen, you are less than me. So if they think of the bugs as less than, it's easier to destroy them. So that's just that mentality and that's what they did with
classism.
Yeah, that's what they did to the natives. They dehumanized natives so it was easier for them to try and wipe us out. Didn't work though, but
It makes them feel happy, inside.
And that's the thing is like all this references to Nazis and to fascism, that's all intentional. That's all. It's this movie is a satire of war movies. It's taking the war movie trope and amplifying it and totally shoving it back in our face and making fun of it. On the surface, yes, it's just this big dumb action movie, but everything in there is purposely there. Even the plot. Let's get into the plot. The stupid plot about these stupid fucking kids and their stupid fucking love stories. That's all intentional too. Because they're making fun of Saved by the Bell, of 90210, of Dawson's Creek and the OC and all these shitty teeny bopper soap operas that kids grew up watching. That's what they were doing. This is basically Saved by the Bell in space, fighting a war against giant alien bugs. That's all this movie is, and it's purposely that way because it's making fun of all those teeny bopper soap operas as well. And I thought that was brilliant. Because all these because all these characters, they all suck. They're all superficial. They're all shallow. They're all pretty, and that's because they live in the society where they're more concerned with their status. Being a citizen versus a civilian. They have no identity. Because they are just going to all join this, robotic society of this military society. The love story, it's all dumb. It's all cliche. It's stupid. We don't give a fuck about it. But that's the point. The point is to show how shallow that shit really is. You know what I'm saying?
Well, even like the girl that chases him, the one who actually likes him and loves him, he dies, and it's like, yeah, he's kind of sad, and yeah, he's sad that she's gone, but is he really that sad?
No.
Was he really that sad?
No.
He ends up back with this superficial girl right at the end.
Yeah, who doesn't give a fuck about him.
Back at her.
Yeah. And she doesn't give a fuck about him. She liked the other douchebag, the pilot guy, and he dies. He gets his brain sucked out because, he's brainless anyways. He was a brainless asshole. but you know what I'm saying? Like all that it's all this love story shit that you don't care because it's just it's cliche, but it's there on purpose. And in the end, this whole stupid ending where, when we're all back together again, I feel everything's going to be fine. And that's supposed to be a happy ending, but it's really not because you really don't care about these characters because they are shallow, garbage people. She's a fucking selfish, narcissistic, bitch who just wants to fly ships and drop bombs on shit. Rico's a jock douchebag which wants to shoot everything, and Neil Patrick Harris, he's a fucking Nazi. So they're all just these assholes at the end of the movie, and it's this is the happy ending, but it's really not. It's really these people, and then it ends with how
grim the future is.
Yeah, it ends with more. The ending of the movie is another newsreel of join up, fight, we're gonna win this war, because that's the brainwashing tactic. That's what this society is built upon. And the movie ends with more war propaganda. So you think, this is a happy ending, but it's really not. You kind of miss the point. These kids live happily ever after. No, they don't. They're a part of this shitty fascist society. And that's the point of the movie. The point of the movie is not that they have a happy ending and that they're going to win. The point is these people suck.
I like the one part that I got still stuck in my head is when they show on film them doing medical torturing of the brain bug.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And it's censored. And that's censored.
It's lightly censored, but you're like, that's not really censored, and you're like, oh, okay. It's like And the weird part is that society, they're giving him what they want. It's the idea. It's the idea of Rome, and it's the idea of the games all over again. It's like, how do we keep society at an even keel if there's not enough food, or if there's not enough this? What did Caesar did? Nothing's changed in society as a whole, and that's the point of this movie. Is that what he did was gave them fucking games where they killed fucking Christians, or they killed fucking animals, or they did something. But that was to entertain the people, to keep them from understanding what was actually happening to them.
Yeah.
The eventual, the idea of that you're really a slave.
Yeah, and it's all satirized and it's presented in this parody, where we laugh. Like, the newsreels are totally like humorous, and you laugh at everything. Yeah, they're censored. They'll show dead bodies, dismembered, and all this blood and gore, but they're gonna censor that one thing because it looks like a sexual orifice, And then of course there's that scene where I'm doing my part too, and it's the little kid. And they laugh at, look at this cute little kid in a soldier uniform, and he, and they think it's cute, but no, it's not really cute. This little kid is in a soldier's outfit, and he's going off to war. That's not cute.
And he's got a big gun too.
He's got a big gun, yeah.
He's got a big gun, and he's all ready to go.
Yeah. They
were playing with the guns. They were letting him play. They were letting him play with the guns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're playing. Weren't they all the little kids fighting over an assault rifle?
Yeah, they're pulling.
They're talking at each end of it.
They're passing out bullets to the kids and shit. Yeah. This is where that society's, it's bred for war. It's bred for destruction, war and destruction. That's what that society is built for. Oh, Tracy, we haven't heard from you. What'd you think?
You guys pretty much went into it deeper than I could even want to.
Yeah, like I said, I did go mad deep. I really paid attention. And
but even when you talk about 90102 and that time period, and nothing's changed as far as TV and society now. We have the same kind of shows. We have the same kind of things. I mean, I think there's more options out, but the idea is not that. The idea is, why do we have these shows? Why? Because you need them to conform. You need them to breed. You need them to do this. You need them to fit in society. How do you fit in society? You have to fit in this exact mode. If you don't fit in this mode, well, then you're odd. And if you're odd, well, then you're not wanted. You're not desirable. You don't have it. You don't have as much worth.
Give up your free will. Yeah, give up your free will. Give up your free thoughts or else you'll be happy. You won't be happy. Join the crowd or you'll be unhappy. And that's why I wasn't a big John Hughes fan. Because in all his movies, it was all about the outsider trying to fit in. Even in Weird Science, which I love. That's like one of my favorite movies. But they're the outcast nerds who just want to be popular and have a party and get girlfriends and be accepted, in like The Breakfast Club. That, I always get half pissed off at that movie because Ali Sheedy's character, the Nutcase or whatever, she puts on makeup and all of a sudden the jock douchebag likes her. If you put on makeup, if you conform, if you just fit in, then you'll be accepted. Then you'll get a boyfriend. It's just like, that's basically,
you can be a whore.
Yeah. That's basically what those movies were trying to say. Conform. Just try to fit in, And that's why I never got into Saved by the Bell or any of that shit. I never watched any of that shit, But let's talk about the cinematic aesthetics of the movie. How this movie was made. Because it's a big, giant sci-fi action flick, and it totally succeeds on that level. The action is awesome. The violence is very brutal and gory. The effects, I think, still hold up. Even the CGI, which is like over 20 years old, a lot of it still holds up. But it's also shot like a sitcom. It's very bright. You know what I mean? This ain't Zack Snyder, where it's all shadowy and dark and foreboding and this atmospheric, this dark atmosphere. This movie's brightly lit like a TV show. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was intentional too, because it's basically a sitcom. That's what we're watching. We're watching a sitcom, you know. And even the ending, where it reveals that what's his name, Zim, the private Zim, the drill instructor. You know, like it wasn't some big battle or whatever. It wasn't this big twist. It was Sergeant Zim saved the day and he got the brain bug and all that shit. So even it was like a dumb punchline, you know, to a dumb joke, and that's like something you'd see on
like Scooby Doo
on Friends, or on Friends or some shit, you know. So yeah, I mean, watching this thing again, like I said, I was like, wow, movie still holds up. It's still relevant. It's still making relevant connections to real world problems, even 20 years later. And I think people don't give it enough credit for how deep it goes. You know, I think a lot of because I looked at it got a lot of shitty reviews back when it first came out. And I think it might have bombed at the box office. And I think people didn't understand that this was a satire. You know, they probably thought, oh, this is a fucking dumb action movie with these dumb kids and this dumb romantic teen soap opera, and didn't get that it was purposely made that way to, you know, to make fun of that.
The
shit.
true genius behind it.
Yeah.
Right.
As far as the look and the idea of this movie, the two key things for me about this movie on that note is the violence and the blood. Without the violence, this is weird because in this movie, the violence isn't, it's a little gratuitous, but the actual violence is important to understand the society and also understand the propaganda that goes with it. You know, the other part that I love are the film as the World War II type, you know, futuristic, you know, do you want to know more?
Yeah.
Click onto this, you know.
Yeah.
Those things were total, you know, during World War II. They would, you know, would watch reels and they would see the footage later. And the interesting thing about that movie too is it shows the media like Desert Storm, like after, like, because the first Desert Storm we don't let any media go in because we learned a lesson from Vietnam, and Vietnam was the first war that was televised where you could see your children die. So you go to Desert Storm, Bush was like, nope, that ain't happen. We go to the next one, right? And they let a little bit in, and by the next conflict we go into, what they do is they realize that this is still a problem with media, that they still want to know what's going on, so we have to control the narrative. How do we control the narrative? We send them in with the troops. Once you send them in with the troops, they only have one point of perspective. They no longer choose to tell just the news. The news used to be factual, used to be, you know, just here's the story, this is what it is, you decide on what you think is right or wrong. When somebody sends a journalist out to war with soldiers at this point, they no longer carry that anymore. They carry the narrative of the soldier and that point of view. It is no longer news. That is, even though it's actual factual, it's still propaganda to a certain degree. And that was what's interesting about the Starship Troopers, is they show that. They show that before it actually happens. That guy's telling the story right at the beginning, and it gets killed by the bug, and the dude shows the bug, so it automatically puts the bug in this reference point to where, yes, it's evil, kill it.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's the idea of media and how it can be manipulated by the fucking state in order to fucking serve its cause. And that's important to kill people, to kill things. And in this, it's a reference. And he probably didn't even understand that the reference that he was showing was later on going to become full on. That's how we do shit.
Yeah. And it's interesting because... Oh, go ahead.
I think that he meant it as this is what could happen, and this is a really ugly way of doing things, and we do these things now.
Yeah,
this is just normal. This is just what we do normal now.
Business as usual.
And it's funny because, like, in that scene when that journalist is interviewing the soldiers, and he even mentions some people think a live and let live approach would be a better like solution. You know what I mean? And then Rico comes in, I had family in Buenos Aires, and I say kill them all, and yeah, let's go get tatted. So like any sort of moral, diplomacy is always shut down.
Right.
because that doesn't work in this society. Like any sort of diplomacy, let's talk things out, let's come to a mutual understanding. No. We just want to eliminate the other. That's because brute force, that's what they said in the classroom. Brute force is the only thing that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, anybody got anything else? Anybody got anything else to add?
I mean, for me, I can only speak from what I know. I'm the '80s baby, full fledged, and that shit had me hook, line, and sinker. From the violence, the tits, what was it? That one scene, the co-ed washing and shit like that.
Yeah,
It was.
that's kind of. I always thought that was interesting. Like especially now that it's all like women and men are kind of equal. They're all soldiers. They're all on the. There's Diz is on the football team. She's the quarterback.
Yup,
So like
yeah.
men and women have sort of like this. There doesn't seem to be sort of sexism. There's sort of there's that gender equality, I think, exists in that world, in this fascist state, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like even bring it up even more. I was like, remember when Rico he's getting whipped, the black
Oh
guy's
yeah,
whipping him.
the black guy's whipping Rico.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was just my young mind though, I could really, I could feel it, but my eyes were just, it had me. It did for me what it was supposed to do at being an '80s baby. So, but I knew there's something deeper about it. You know what I'm saying? But I love that movie. I loved it back then. I still love it to this day.
Yeah, I think it has aged very well. I think people should go take a look at this movie and really, really take a look at this movie and see all the underlying commentary, the political and social commentary that's going on in this movie. It's very deep.
And try to take off try to see beyond your nose too when you watch it, or you know what I mean. A lot of people get offended or whatever. Try to push whatever insecurities or whatever's to the side, and just watch it with the open heart or with an open mind and shit. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Really enjoy the motherfucker. It's a dope ass movie, and it's art. It's like a fucking art piece or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, on the surface, it's just big, giant sci-fi action flick, with a dumb soap opera sandwiched inside. But that's just the surface. It's way deeper than that. That's just the tip. You gotta go beneath, because that's the whole point of the movie. The purpose of this movie is beneath all that surface shit. That's the point of the movie. It was they were poking fun of fascism. They were poking fun at war movies, and they were poking fun at teeny bopper soap opera tropes and shit. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's oddly weird that I feel like it works also on a different level. Like if you don't think that deep, I think people get what they want out of it still.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're pro-war, you're pro-killing, pro-fuck everybody, you're going to watch this movie and say, this is great. I love this movie. They killed everything. They killed everybody. That's great. Let's kill everything. And those people are going to get what they want out of that movie, which is odd. That's what makes the movie odd, is somebody who is pro-fuck everything, fuck the world, fuck everybody.
Pro-fascism.
Or it could just be in line with it. Like, I agree with these. I agree with these feelings. I agree with this shit. And it's odd. That's not what that guy meant.
Yeah, you missed the point. You kind of missed the point.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's interesting to see that the person who is watching and missing the point is making up their own mind and going, no, I agree with all this stuff. That's the interesting part.
I think that's the genius behind it, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think that's what happened back in '97 or whenever this came out, is people just looked at it as, oh, this movie sucks. It's just either they liked it because it was a big dumb action flick, or they hated it because it was a big dumb action flick. But but like I said, even at the time, I noticed that they were poking fun, like Neil Patrick Harris in a Nazi uniform. I mean, that's just blatantly satirical. Like, I laughed when I was like, oh my God, this is so in your face. Yes, he's a Nazi. Yes, this all makes sense. And I got it back then. I knew that, but watching it now, I was like, wow, they're making fun of everything. They're making fun of just war movies in general, and that's why I brought up Full Metal Jacket, because that's just a brilliantly made film and that's just about turning people into killers. It's not a war movie. It's a character study and the psychology of what turns people into killers. That's what Full Metal Jacket is. That's the point of that. So I don't know. Anybody got anything else?
No, I'm good, man.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it. Is that a wrap? All right. Cool.
Let's go watch it.
Watch it again. All right, so we're gonna wrap up this episode. Thank y'all for listening. This is the Geek Savz. Check us out on Facebook. We got a Facebook page. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your homies. Hey, there's some native cats talking about comic books and horror movies and all that cool shit. Also, check us out on Outright Geekery. There's a whole network of podcasts that talk about everything in geek culture. On Thursday, I am going to be on a podcast called The Riddle of Steel. We're going to talk about Conan the Barbarian. That's all we're going to talk about. Podcast on Conan. So check that out. I do another podcast with Leroy called The Comic Book Bullies. So give us a listen as well. And just check out Outright Geekery. So anyways, thank you all for tuning in. This is the Geek Savz. This is E-Dub.
Matt G.
Anthony.
And Tracy.
Extra cheese. Hold